Okay, so the next thing I want to share, and y'all have seen a lot of this when I did my loading bench video, but this is my range kit for hunt kit, and what I've got here is Pyrodex RS. It's 2FG black powder equivalent. And I've got a bottle of steel BB shot. In the back, the pouch back here, got a little tin of got a little tin of 209 shotgun primers. I also have a tin of 11 gauge nitro cards. You might say, well, you're using a 12 gauge shotgun. Why in the world are you running an 11 gauge nitro card? Well, because the brass shells actually have an inside diameter that is a little bit bigger than a plastic shell. And these guys, if you go with a 12 gauge, standard 12 gauge nitro card, it's going to fall right out. So I use the 11 gauge, but a little bit stiffer. What a nitro card is what I'm doing. That's a nitro card. It's just a triple layer of fiber. And we also have 11 gauge cushion wad. So the nitro card goes right on top of the powder. Then your cushion wad goes on top of the nitro card and provides cushioning to keep, if you're running a lead shot or a softer material shot, it keeps it from deforming. Now, steel shot, I'm not real worried about it deforming, but these also provide really good accuracy. And let me see if I can get one of these fellers out of here. He's fibrous, kind of loose fibers actually, very spongy. And again, he's to protect your shot. Next thing we've got in here is 10 gauge overshot cards. And again, you say you're running a 12 gauge. Why are you running a 10 gauge overshot? Just like the 11 gauge parts, these are just thin pieces of cardboard. And by buying the 10 gauge, they stay in really well. So the next thing we got as part of this little kit is this. And if you watch enough YouTube videos on reloading these brass shells, you're going to see where different people use different things. There's fellas that use Elmer's glue. There's fellas that use sodium silicate, which is also known as water glass. I've got a bottle of that coming. I want to give it a shot. You see guys that use wood glue. You see guys that use Duco cement. Part of the reason for this is, and you can see this on one of these, is to seal. Number one, to seal that overshot card from falling out very easy, so you can do things like cram them into one of these packs real easy. But at the same time, it also waterproofs, so you don't have to worry about your shell getting wet if you happen to be out in the rain or something. But what I'm experimenting Sally Hansen Hard as Nails. It's a nail hardener. It dries super fast. I will give you one piece of advice. Do not seal your shelves with this if you're in an enclosed environment. I made that mistake the other day down at the loading bench. I painted up one and loaded the next one, painted him up, loaded the next one. When I got to about the fourth or fifth one, I was high as a kite. So I had to give up loading for a little while. But I took this for myself, and I loaded a couple of boxes up, got everything ready except for painting them up. Went ahead and got them all set up and painted a whole bunch of them in under a minute. So it was okay. So what else have we got in here? Well, we have a socket, 7/8 socket, and in the bottom of there is a washer. That washer, 7/8 socket, fits one of these shelves. Don't have to worry about tipping it. The reason that there's a washer in the bottom of there is that washer is exactly the right size so that when you set this in the center of it, if you were able to see it through there, that hole and that fiber align perfectly. What else we got? We've got a dipper. This guy, he's a replica of a very, very old school, and he's actually shot dipper. But when you're working with black powder and beanie shot, you can kind of get by with some extra things. You'll notice also that he is sized just right, and he just gets right in there for dumping powder in. And he is graduated everywhere from 1 ounce up to 1.5 ounce. Now I haven't tried 1.5 ounce load on one of these yet. We may actually do that. I also have a little crafting hammer. This I think was like $2 at Harbor Freight. Brass on one and bucket on the other. See how much I used him. I need to kind of shape him a little bit. But then I shortened him down so that he could fit in the kit. I also sized his handle to use as a tamper for putting my wads in place. Did the same thing with this. He is also sized just right to tamp wads. As Dave Canterbury says, and many others, but I first heard it from Canterbury many, many years ago on YouTube. 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if something should happen to that dipper and the handle on that dipper, I could still probably get by using it. But I wouldn't have a tamper. I need a tamper. Besides that, this one makes it real handy to just grab a hold of that. However, it's not the only tamper I've got. Here we have just a simple short extension and a deep well socket. This one happens to be a 12 millimeter. And you notice, got a little bit of room to move. He's not completely perfectly fit, but took a piece of dowel rod, shaved it down, drove it in, cut it off, ran it across my sander to create a tamper. 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is even better. What else we got? Well, let's see. So we got our hammer. We've got our extension. And I'll toss this in here also. You'll notice in the end of the extension, it's plugged. what I did here, I took another extension of old, it's kind of rusty, and I stuck him in there, glue in there, drove him in hard, cut him off, ground him down nice and smooth, because the one that I had been using, after just loading about 50 shells and using this hammer, didn't really matter whether I was using the nylon or the brass side, the edge of this was getting all mushroomed out and nasty and ugly and sharp. So I decided if I plugged that and ground that off, now I've got a nice solid surface to tap against. Next up, little tin. And in the magic tin, we have what used to be an Allen head, an Allen socket. This guy pops on the end of there. We'll see what you do with him in just a minute, but you notice there's a little bit of electrical tape. Makes him self-center so that when he drops in, he is going to go in against that primer right dead center, and I'll knock the primer out. His friend that parks in this little tin with him is another socket, sized just right. Again, a little bit of tape on him so that he self-centers. Now when he drops in, he actually will go around the outside of that pocket. You see a lot of guys running a bigger socket, and it actually contacts the base of the shell all the way out here. You don't want to do that. You want one that is just a little bit bigger than the primer pocket. And I prefer to use one that rather than an octagonal, I like to use one of these 12-point stars, because it gets in nice and close to that pocket. And you're going to see in a minute when I reprime this guy how he comes into play. And last but not least, I might start parking him in there, is just a little piece of steel used for repriming. And you put this on here, so you primer it in place, get it started, and over it, pop it down in there. You want to be double, triple sure that this is nice and clean. You don't have any burrs on it, you don't have any dents in it, and you don't have anything on it, because trust me, you go down there and you pop that and you hit it wrong and you set that primer off. Now I'm out here, I'm outdoors, I've got Gear Pro in, because I'm out here at the range. I don't, even though this black powder, I probably could get by without the Gear Pro because it really isn't very loud. But at the same time, you don't want to set one of those off because it will fire up there and it will shoot smoke at you. I have to throw in here, I did get stupid. Always, when you're reloading, especially if you're reloading at home, at your bench, maybe in a room or in your basement, especially in your basement, you got concrete walls. And you set one of those off and it will ring your bell. And you'll be for about 3 minutes you can't hear jack. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started with reloading one of these. I've jabbered at you enough. Now first thing we got to do is reprime this guy. So I'll drop him in here. I'll drop that in place. Take my hammer. He's starting to come out though. There he is. And down here, one spent primer. You see my spike, not a complete point, it's rounded just a little bit, but it's long enough that it's going to come all the way through. And you might be able to see down in there a little bit where he kind of comes up through there. But yeah. So next thing is we have to put a new primer in. So we're going to switch over to here. And we're going to get one of our shot shell primers. These are called 209 primers. Standard shot shell primer. Back in the early 60s, late 50s or early 60s, shotgun shell manufacturers went to a standard. So you buy 209 primers, they are shot shell primers. Now, these brass hulls, these are Magtech hulls. And you saw my video there at home. It's Magtech. Magtech hulls are manufactured to use a large pistol primer. And a lot of guys swear that if you do what I've done here and what so many others have done, that you're going to ruin it, you're going to blow it up. Well, not yet. And ain't going to happen. But what I do, and I got this from Canterbury. I love me some Dave Canterbury videos. If you've never watched him, look him up on YouTube. Man has got some great material. But anyway, you drill this out, and I actually show in my video there at home how I go about drilling these out in order to prep them so that I can use the 209 primers. The main reason for using 209 primers is that I priced in fact, just this morning, I priced large pistol primers, and they are very expensive. I think $90 for 1,000. Sounds like a lot of primers, I know, but these I think were $23 or $24 for 1,000. So then we're going to put that on that plate. Again, I'm using the plastic side of this. Might have to go to the brass side. Yep. And that is a booger to get in there. And let's see if we can pop one of these real easy. Make it a little bit easier for us. Always have a multi-tool with you in your kit. I should actually clean that out. Okay, so we're back. My truck, I've always got a toolbox in my truck. Always, always, always. I am not going to show you what I pulled out of my toolbox to use as a hammer. Because kind of surprised me, I didn't have a hammer in my toolbox. Got a couple of large, heavy items in there, though, that served well as a hammer. But you always want to check and make sure you feel of your primer that it is nice and flush, that it's not proud of that surface. Otherwise, your shotgun's not going to close properly. So next, we got primers in these two. So we're not going to need to deprime, and we're not going to need to reprime. So we're just going to go ahead and drop it. I wonder, out of point of curiosity, whether or not it's close. I thought maybe I would be able to, maybe I would be able to stow that little piece of metal in there with those, but that little tin isn't quite deep enough for that. But it holds these nice well. We're going to slip that back in there. We're done with this guy. We'll slip that back in. I will always make sure that you're not losing your pieces parts, okay? So now, let's go ahead and use this just as a holder. So, we are going to run. I want to experiment with these two. We are going to run a little bit heavier load with these guys. And 1 1/8 is pretty much a standard factory load. 1 1/2 is a heavy load. And I do want to experiment with 1 heavy load. Now, you'll notice the way I put this in. Put it in and kind of screw it down in there. Don't try to scoop it. Just kind of get it down, twist it down in there. Frame up. I tend to use this lid because you want it nice and level. Okay, make sure your powder's all out of there. Always make sure and close him up when you're done. Next thing we're going to do is we need to add a nitro card. That's these fiber guys here. You notice how nice that fits in there. I like to kind of pop him a couple of times a little bit, just to make sure that he stays down in there. Because you definitely don't want a bunch of room between your powder and your nitro card. You also don't want a whole bunch of just air gaps in amongst the powder. It won't fire off quite as well. So now we got our nitro card in. So now let's do an 11 gauge, one of our 11 gauge cushion wads. And you'll notice with these, there is a slightly rounded side and a flat side. What I've been doing is using the rounded side to kind of get him started. Pop that down in there. Make sure he's seated well. Then I'm going to get pull up my BB shot. And I'm going to run the same weight. This is by volume, not really by weight. It's run black powder instead of by volume. So we're going to run that big load of touch them just a little bit. And then we're going to put in a 10 gauge overshot card. And why do they call them overshot? Because they go over the shot. And you'll notice that he's kind of real big to try to fit in there. So you kind of put him in at an edge. Got him in there. And you can see that there is a little bit of room there yet. And then we're going to take our little bottle of Sally Hansen. And most guys just kind of go around the edge. I like to go around the edge of it and across the middle of it. Because after all, that is it's basically just a little piece of cardboard. And a little piece of cardboard can get wet real easy. And we don't want that to happen. So we're going to set him off over there. Now, we've already got our primer in here. I looked at it in there. I see red. I've got my primer. So now I'm going to do powder again. This one I'm going to back this off. And I'm going to run what would be considered a slightly heavy load, which is 1 1/4. Kind of shield that a little bit there for a second. We are, after all, outdoors. Now, what comes next? 11 gauge nitro card. Run our nitro card down. A little bit heavy handed on it. And then we're going to do our 11 gauge ultra wide. You can start with your thumb. Pop it down a little bit. Now we're ready for some BBs. Another thing about running these steel BBs, I bought 25 pounds. Okay, and I bought a 25-pound bag. One of the great things about it is, as Canberra puts it, you can go to Walmart or wherever you want to go. I personally don't shop at Walmart. I haven't for ages. But you can go to any place that sells BBs, just regular 177 caliber BBs for a pellet gun, crossbow, whatever brand, and you can just buy steel BBs and run them right in there. So now, last thing we're going to do is that overshot card. Again, they call it an overshot card. You know, we have a nitro card. Well, there's nitro in the powder. Cushion wad, they cushion. And overshot card, they go overshot. I could just as easily be using this as my tamper if I really wanted to get a tamp on. No pun intended. Yeah, it was. It's just how I am. So, last but not least, put our Sally Hansen on top. Get some Sally. Sally. All right. noise. Big difference. That, my friend, is the heavy load. That is that 1.5 ounce. This guy, that is the 1.25 ounce. Oh, I'm not going to show that. That is just ugly, nasty. I've got a box here that I loaded that I use different kinds of things. I use some different kinds of glue. I use that Duco. I'm gonna have to run these guys out, because they're just nasty. Anyway, so now we're gonna put it. I'm a little anal about things. Make sure that my stuff doesn't fall apart. Lids don't come off or anything. Granted, it's in a zipper pouch in the back of here, but hey, we start with a nitro card. Last thing you put in is your overshot card. Middle is your cushion wallet. And in along there somewhere is your primers and your Sally Hansen. That all goes in the back. This is a Maxpedition large pouch. Get these online. Zip that up in the back of there. This guy tucks in behind here. This guy, that's my tin in there. This guy here pops in there. This one. Yeah, need to move it over, don't I? Now it slides up through there. That one slides down through there. Let's be a little careful with him because he is, after all, just brass. Be just a little bit careful with him. You kind of slip him up underneath there. Right like that, so everything lays nice and flat. I'll run my shot bottle under that side, powder bottle under that side. And I got Uzi up, and he's ready to go back in. So these guys are dry. That's another thing I like about the Sally Hansen, about that Hard as Nails. This stuff dries so fast, it's unbelievable. And might mention also, you could actually use that as a hammer too, if you were really pressed to do such.